Hi, everybody, and welcome to Beyond the Cage, presented by Fight Chicks. I am your host, Jim Graham. Alongside me is my co-host, The Juice, Dave Sather, and we have a couple guests joining us today. First off, we have our good friend AJ Hiller from MMASignaturesUSA.com, and we have his good friend, and we're so glad to get him here on the show, the Diesel, Joe Riggs, live and in person here on Beyond the Cage. And gentlemen, thanks for coming on the show.
Thank you.
All right. Well, we'll start first with Joe here. Ask you a couple questions here. I was looking through your record. Obviously, 55 professional fights, which is a lot in this day and age in mixed martial arts. And just looking some things over, and you brought this up just before we came on the air. You were signing some stuff when you fought Herb Dean. Yes, the Herb Dean, the referee, all the way back in January of 2003, where you submitted him via strikes in 52 seconds.
Actually, it was both hands and legs kicking. He tapped out with all four of the hands. I mean, his legs and his feet.
Now, when you obviously fought him, he wasn't a referee, but did you think like you beat this guy? Huh?
He was a referee for King of the Cage.
Okay, and like, do you think like years later he would arguably be the best referee in the game, and you beat him in 52 seconds? Is that like crazy to think that?
Yeah, I didn't really. Yeah, I didn't. I was so young, I didn't think about it. But what blows my mind is he won't ref any of my fights. He refuses because he says you beat my ass, and I always want you to win. So I think I'd be impartial. So I'm like, oh, because I always wondered why he wouldn't ref my fights, and finally, there you go. I find out later on. He's a nice guy. He's a great ref.
Now, of course, that was a long time ago. But just looking over some of the guys you fought. Just, Nick Diaz, Chris Lytle, Matt Hughes, Diego Sanchez, Phil Baroni, Jay Haran, Kendall Grove. Just when you see some of these guys, it's just amazing, all the guys that have fought and competed over the years. Is there any time you sit back and like, man, I can't believe I got to fight this guy or I got to fight that guy?
No, because I don't put anybody above me. Sometimes I look back and I think, like, I can't believe I didn't beat this guy. I can't believe I let this guy beat me. Because a lot of those guys, when I did fight them, my mental aspect wasn't where it is now. I always had a problem where I had a lot of physical attributes and I was physically gifted, but mentally I was fucked up.
Hey Jim, can you hear me? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. I was off the call for a second, so I wanted to make sure you guys could hear me. I have a question from one of our Facebook friends, and the question is for you, Joe. It says, if you could go back throughout MMA or the UFC through the history books, who would you want to fight and why? That's from my buddy Clint.
I would like to fight Royce Gracie, just because Royce is a nice guy. Actually, John Crouch, my coach, is a black belt under him. But going back in time and seeing the evolution of the sport and fighting, the person who, just was so dominant back in the early days, I'd like to see how easy it would be to beat someone that is, thought upon as being, just such an icon. It would be. Matt Hughes was a good display of that, but. I would like for me to be young and go back and fight then. It'd be cool to see a kid, doing real well. But Royce Gracie would be the one I'd like to fight. No disrespect.
I think any mixed martial artist who has come up, that's probably got to be their top guy that they would want to at least go in there and test themselves against.
For sure.
Yeah.
And then a question that. No, go ahead.
Go ahead. And Jim, you brought up before 55 professional fights. Joe has a lot more than that, actually. There was a little mix-up on the Wikipedia, and he submitted another 16 victories that he has to his credit.
I had to show the video of him. Actually, one of my wins are over Keith Jardine as a heavyweight when I was younger.
Yeah. I saw that when I was looking up information.
I got the memo then.
Yeah. So they're changing that up soon. In all of his Bellator fights, you think of all the fights that were on the Fight Master,
right?
They're going to be credited as well, where there's only one. So if you think about, this is the most amazing thing I think about to myself. I'm sitting next to Joe here, with probably 70 professional fights, close to 70 professional fights. He's only 32 years old. He's in his prime. You know, he's more than a 6-fight winning streak. You know, if you add in 11 fight winning streak, if you add in the Bellator Fight Master, he's just in his prime. You know, all this couldn't have happened at a better time. You know, him getting back in the UFC.
This could have.
Yeah, that could.
My hand could have been at a better time.
I had a question, Joe.
Yeah.
Like AJ was just saying, you've got a whole lot of fights, and I was looking, and you fought from welterweight to heavyweight. Now AJ's aware. We're good friends with Brian Ebersol, who's also in the welterweight division, and I believe he's at like 8. Yeah. Well, he's got like
Brian Ebersol just because.
That's his good.
I'm sorry, I don't.
No, you're good. You're good. No.
I mean, because everybody has different relationships with everybody. The reason why, me personally, because remember when I was making my UFC debut, and I'll give you 2 reasons why. When I was making my UFC debut, I was getting ready to fight Joe Dirksen, and he was like, he's gonna fucking kill you. He's gonna destroy you. He's one of the best. He's not in UFC because he's a wannabe. And I was like, maybe he's right. So it almost got in my head there. And then later on, I physically sat ringside as he had one of the worst works with Shannon Rich ever, which he had his license taken away for a year, I believe, for that. So yeah,
right.
But it doesn't take away from the fact that he is a good fighter.
Well, my question was, he's been around kind of pretty much as long as you have as a professional mixed martial artist. You've got a bunch of fights. He's got a bunch of fights. But the one thing I noticed was you fought at heavyweight down to welterweight. He's fought at heavyweight down to welterweight, you know, similar to you. But is that just a matter of when you guys started, you had to just take a fight any way you could? Otherwise, you'd never get in the cage? Because, I mean...
I was big. I was a fat guy. So that was the weight class that I was, you know, I was a heavyweight. I was a super heavyweight. So that was just that I was in that weight class. I mean, it was
right.
There was a couple times I fought people that were a lot bigger than me, but I mean, technically I was a heavyweight, so I had to. So I mean, as I got longer in my career, as the more healthy I got, the weight just kept coming off slowly. I mean, but I think Brian would fight people out of his weight class because of what you were saying. That way, he was just trying to take any fight.
Right. Is 170 your home, Joe? You don't want to go any lower?
No, fuck. I'd have to cut my head off to make 155.
Don't do that. Don't do that.
Like right now, I'm 205. You know, and I have abs. I'm not a small man.
Right.
You know what else is funny? When you see the videos of Joe or see anything of Joe, even pictures, you picture like somebody who's, you know, short and bulky, stocky, muscular. He's fucking 6'1". He's 6'1". You know?
Oh, so I'm 6'6.5", something like that. But
yeah.
But I'm people think I'm a lot shorter than I am. I'm not a fucking tree stump.
Nope.
Now, speaking of some guys you trained with, you mentioned, you know, John Crouch, head coach there, MMA Lab in Arizona. Obviously, Ben Henderson's there, the former UFC lightweight champ, and he's talked about only having one more fight at 55 before possibly moving up to 170. And obviously, you probably have got to know him here over the last couple months. Do you think that's a good move for his career, jumping up to 170, take on maybe a little bigger guys, you know, cut a little less weight? Or
I've gotten to know Ben over the last 4 years. I've been training with Ben for a long time. And Benson, he's only going. The talk of doing that was because they made him go through a gauntlet of tough guys to even get in the title hunt again after not being the champion, which is absurd. So he's thinking after he lost to the Saunders, they were going to make him go through hell again. So he's thinking about going to 70, picking the right fight, beating the guy 170 dominantly, and then going back to 155. It would be a bigger splash, you know, than just to fight one tough guy at 70, then like fight 4 guys at 155. It'd be easier to do that. But he's not going to go for a title shot at 170 or keep that. It's not going to be his weight class. He was just thinking about taking a fight or two there.
Now, obviously, you mentioned that you're a big welterweight yourself. Do you know, like, I know Ben's a big guy. Is he right around your like walk around weight or a little less? Because I know he cuts a ridiculous amount to get down to 55, doesn't he?
Benson?
Yeah.
Oh, he's nowhere near my size. No, he's about 3 inches shorter than me, and he's about 25 pounds lighter than me.
Wow.
Okay. So he's probably like walking around like 180.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think the highest Vince will get is 85. That's the heaviest I've ever seen him.
Yeah. He looks a lot thicker, but hey, TV adds 20 pounds, right?
He always has. I mean, Ben's legs are fucking huge, man. I mean, he's got huge legs. His shoulders are like a V. I mean, they start wide. He's got a small waist. He's a huge lightweight, but he'd be a small welterweight.
Yeah. Yep.
Now, of course, you were supposed to make your re-return to the UFC a couple months ago. You had the accident there that kind of delayed things a little bit, and now that that's kind of behind you, it's been a couple months. You're now in training for your fight coming up in December. When you look back at that, it's just something you just got to sit back and kind of laugh at. Just kind of like, man, I can't believe that happened to me.
I don't laugh at it, no, but I wouldn't change it, I mean, I wouldn't change it for anything. I always think things happen for a reason, and it shook up my life really bad. I mean, my sons haven't had problems with it. I've had problems with it, but I mean, this is a huge. It was not just my leg. I mean, it was my hand that put my career in jeopardy. And that being able to come back from that, and being able to just overcome things is a good thing, and it makes me be a better. I mean, since this situation, I'm a better friend, I'm a better father, better husband, and ultimately I'll be a better fighter because of these situations. You don't really know what you have until it's almost gone. And I came real close to dying that night. That's why I don't really, think lightly upon a situation, but it's given me a completely different outlook in the way I view things when I look back upon it.
Hey.
Oh, I wanted to bring up one quick follow-up, Dave.
No, you're good.
Like you said, you're able to kind of learn those things about yourself, and maybe it's kind of you could take a horrible situation and turn it into a positive because you were going to have to go all the way down to Brazil, which just talking with you, you probably wouldn't have had a problem with, but now you get to stay at home, fight in Arizona. I feel like that's probably a way better situation than having to travel all the way down to Brazil, right?
Well, absolutely, and I just come up to Pennsylvania. My injuries in my hand is still kind of new, so the humidity has hurt my hand a little bit. But Arizona is a really dry climate, and I'm used to that, so it's not going to be an issue. So I think as the further I go on, it's going to be less of an issue. But my first fight back, it's going to be, it's a lot easier fighting from home. And I like the fact that 2 days after my injury, I was on my hospital bed when everybody said I was done and said that I said I was going to fight at this date, and that's when I'm going to fight.
Hey, I had a question, and we can kind of turn towards AJ a little bit too. But Joe, from what I can find, your first fight was all the way back in 2001.
1999.
What's that? 99? 99. So I was 1 year removed from high school. Not to date myself too much, but could you ever possibly imagine that the state of mixed martial arts is where it's at? And yeah, it's not a short time frame, but considering where it was, where it is now, I mean, you're sitting next to AJ, who's got a huge company that deals with, memorabilia, the whole 9 yards. There's an all-women's card that is going down next Saturday, and it's only going to be on the UFC's streaming network. I mean, did any of that stuff, when you started fighting, did that even seem like a remote possibility?
Well, when I first started fighting, there was people that would always say, this is going to be the next big thing. This sport's going to be huge. And I kept hearing that for the first 4 or 5 years of my career, and I was like, gosh, shut the fuck up. Expect it. Just accept it that we're in a dismal sport and that we do it because we love it. Just
Right.
shut up. And then I kept hearing about it, and then I remember getting a call from Dana White personally and asking me if I want to be on Tough One. And everybody else had to go through tryouts, and he said you can either make your UFC debut and fight Dirksen, or we'll just put you in the Tough finale. And I'm like, that show's gonna fucking bomb. It's gonna be horrible. So I said, no, thank you. And then it took the sport to a new level. So I really, it's unbelievable how much the sport's grown, and it just I never would have, because I was in it years before. I was in the UFC right when it turned, and I watched it get bigger and gain momentum. And since I left the UFC, I just watched it get bigger and bigger. Sometimes it's surreal to sit back there and look how big it's actually gotten.
Now, Joe, we just had on Luke Zackridge, who had, it took him 6 years from when he was on the Ultimate Fighter to get back to the UFC. For you, it's been 8 years. And was there ever a point in time in that span where you're like, I don't think I'm going to get back, or was there never any doubt that you were going to get back to the organization?
I was under contract with Strikeforce. I mean, there was many times where Joe Silva, we were talking, and he wanted me to come back. I just couldn't because I was under contract. And then when at the one time when I wasn't under contract is when I had lost 3 in a row. I really wasn't training. Fighting wasn't what it was for me, and that was the only time where it seemed where I might not never get back in the UFC. But there was a time in Strikeforce where I didn't want to. I wanted to go, but I couldn't. And then after I got my release from Strikeforce, I talked to Joe Silva, and he was going to sign me, but he didn't know when he could have a fight for me. So I just went ahead and went another way. So there was, a lot of different times where I was going to sign with UFC and could have. It just things didn't happen when it was the right time. So it's crazy when I was actually signed with Bellator and won the Fight Master. Everybody knows how Bellator is with the fighters. They don't let them go until their career is in shambles. So my own John Crouch even told me that it's not going to look good. They're never going to let you go. You're going to probably finish your career out there. And then, some things happened. I was able to get out, and I was thankful. But yeah, for a while there, after when I was on Bellator, I was starting to wonder if I was ever going to be out.
Hey AJ.
Yep.
What are you playing with over there?
That's a Fight One
His
glove.
dick.
These are Fight One Bellator gloves.
Nice. Can
Those are the
somebody
ones
buy those?
Mike Bronzoulis with?
He has those. Those are ones I use to fight to get in the house.
Okay.
Now, what I will tell you, because you brought up a good thing, I've known Joe, of course, since he's in Bellator. I followed his career, so it's like one of the most humbling things sitting next to him, in my house. It's absolutely amazing. But since I've known Joe, he's told me he's getting back into the UFC, and it was absolutely amazing because he called me on his way to Bellator to get out of his contract. So he called me, he said, I'm on my way to Bellator to get out of my contract, and then I'm going to go over.
Kinko's.
Yeah. And I'm going to sign with the UFC. So he called me on his way to Bellator, then he called me afterwards, okay, I'm out of my Bellator contract. And then he said, I'm on my way to sign with the UFC. And that night, he then called me and said, it was like midnight my time. And he said, I signed with the UFC. I'm fighting in Brazil on this date versus Thiago Alves.
Yeah, Paulo Thiago.
Or Paulo Thiago. And, it was absolutely amazing, because he had the vision. He knew exactly what he was going to do, and not many people in the sport could actually dictate what they're going to do. But, just this past week, just spending time with Joe, he talks to Joe Silva every day, and he did the same thing when he was with other organizations. So that's one good thing, getting that good relationship with those guys.
Oh yeah.
When I was younger, I've always had a close relationship with Joe Silva. I remember talking to him actually when I signed, but I was supposed to fight Lee Murray, and then that didn't happen, and so I was talking to him, and then before I actually made my debut, and he would share his frustrations with him not wanting to do it anymore because people would give him shit about his cards he would make up. And then the UFC was struggling to get make headway in their business, and then now to see what it is and see have a good relationship with Joe, it's real cool.
Hey AJ, did you say that somebody can purchase those off of MMA Signatures, or is that for the AJ collection?
It's real hard for me, and it's funny because Joe has sent so much stuff over the past year. And I have a hard time, parting with things that are given to me,
Right.
So
you're teasing us.
Yeah. Well, if you ask Joe, they're for sale because he tells me everything that he sends me is for sale. If you ask me, with Joe here, I'll tell you that they're for sale.
Hey, hold on, AJ. Look at this. And I'm not trying to diminish the value. It's the only thing I got in my wallet. That's the only thing I got in my wallet.
Diminishing.
I mean, I can let you. I could let you swipe this card. It's just it's gonna stop at some point, you know.
Yeah, but these are they are for sale. So if you're interested,
Gotta be done.
yeah,
Sweet.
yeah.
Well, sticking with Bellator for just a second.
Kazuo Masaki, he wanted to trade me gloves for some fucking reason and sign them, and he kind of stole mine and gave me this.
See these?
Nice.
These are the old Strike Force gloves.
Right, yeah.
They're Fairtex, but it's before they even said Strike Force on them. He fought Masaki, and Joe had the red gloves. Masaki had the blue gloves, and Masaki wanted to switch gloves with him. So Masaki's got his fight worn, and he's got Masaki's.
I didn't even say yes. He just took it.
Yeah, Joe didn't agree to it. He came over, said a couple things.
Started out some sentence fragments and walked away.
Well, looking back, that fight was one of the Strike Force fights at the Playboy Mansion, so maybe his head was confused by all the playmates there.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe. Fucking guy. That was a weird experience itself. So yeah, maybe.
This is pretty cool. This is can you see it?
Yes.
This is from Tough 4. Joe cornered Dewey's. He was in Dewey's corner.
Okay.
Comeback finale.
That's see, that's the stuff to me. Like, I know we've been over this and we've all seen my collection and your collection. To me, that right there, that would be that, like, just one of those. Because who can get those? There's like, what, 50, 60 people on the planet that could possibly have one of those. That's what I want. Is one of those things.
Well, I got a bunch of credentials. I have the credentials when I fought Nick Diaz, and I fought Hughes, or I fought like Strike Force fights. And I got tons of credentials.
I'm not selling you mine, Dave, from UFC 82. Not doing it.
I will sell somebody my credential from Invicta, but anyway. Hey, Joe.
You want to hear something else that's cool? This is cool and crazy. Joe brought a couple of his belts with him. 2 of them got stolen out of his bag on his way here.
From the airport?
Yeah, well, his bag got lost. So
it got lost?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Lost. It ended up going to Georgia, and then from Georgia to Newark. The only belt that was left in his bag, because he had it stuffed all the way in the bottom, is his WEC belt, championship belt.
The old one.
The old one.
If there was something new, and I would have fucking lost it.
Yeah, that's nuts. Yeah, how do you claim that when you're at the? Yeah, it's priceless. Yeah, give me my money back.
Insurance company.
Yeah, that's awful. No, Joe, we've talked about, like, you've fought so many times. Just looking at it, Hawaii. I saw you fought in Montana, Missouri, all over the place. I know for you, you probably don't care. You just want it to be in a cage and start punching people. But is there any place that you haven't fought that you'd be like, I'd love to fight there?
Fucking, I don't know. Actually, I never got. I was supposed to fight in Nova Scotia. I always wanted to go out there. I never did. So I think Nova Scotia, because that's a cool place.
Nice.
Yeah. I think because it's like an island like where New York or like Manhattan is or something like that on the Canadian East Coast, and yeah, so I think that's one place. And especially I was gonna fight there and it didn't happen, so I'd like to fight out there.
Cool.
Now, going back to that fight against Masaki at the Playboy Mansion, I just got to ask this: is that the weirdest place you've ever fought, the Playboy Mansion, or has there been a weirder place that you've been an MMA fight?
That was crazy because I remember they brought Hugh back there, and they had him like hang up on a fucking coat wire. He looked like he was a corpse. It was like picking up a coat sleeve and shaking it. Nice to meet you. He made Mr. Burns. He made Mr. Burns like a fucking GQ model, man. They always talk about it. They were saying how he was fucking in this grotto. He was doing this, doing that. I don't buy a damn word of it. He's seen better days, and that was in 2009.
Right. Jim, we should get because we probably got to get him out of here pretty soon so we can go work out, but we can get to some of our go-to questions.
Questions?
Or fight questions. We can do that too. Real quick, Joe, when you're not training and you're just relaxing, like with your friend AJ there, what kind of things do you like to do?
When I'm at home, I take every minute that I'm out in the gym and I spend it with my family. I don't really have too many friends that I hang out with that's not in the gym. So when I'm at the gym, I'm kind of with my friends, and that's my kind of escape. But I just like to spend all my time with my family and my kids, and because every day they grow up, you don't have that day back.
Yep, absolutely. I got one more, and then Jim can ask you more fight-related questions. I like the fun stuff, not the fight questions. Jim's all technical. So Halloween is coming up on Friday, and you said that you'd like to spend time with your family. What do you have a costume picked out, or does the family have costumes picked out? What's going on for Halloween?
I usually wear the same costume. I'm a baby. I wear a diaper, and at the end of the night, I usually take a piss in the diaper and also take a shit. And that gets mad at me every year. But it's been a ritual for the past 5 or 6 years, so it's not going anywhere.
Hey, AJ, you got a costume?
No, you know what? It's the day before Halloween is my wedding anniversary. So this year is 10-year anniversary, and very proud 10 years. Yeah.
It's hard to do these day and age.
So I'm going to be honest. I haven't dressed up in years. I'd love to, but it's so hard, and to find the time to do such a thing.
He's a busy motherfucker, man. This guy's going around like a bee.
Hey, AJ, speaking of Halloween and dressing up, maybe Joe can plug his ears, but don't I get credit for my Brian Ebersol, my costume that I had in Vegas? I should get credit for that, right? With the harrow?
You look like Brian Ebersol.
What do you do? You shave your chest hair into a fucking V or a...
No. Look, I'm not a skinny guy, Joe. So I shave an arrow into my head.
You still have it?
No, I don't have it. I have a real job. If I show up with that, they're going to be like, "What is this idiot doing?" And then
take the hat off.
It's just a buzz cut. That's all.
Brian Ebersol, his hair is falling out. He's losing all of his hair, isn't he?
He shaved his head for the last fight.
Why do you think that is?
Well,
because God's shaving a fool.
Well, I think that's the same reason that AJ would never say anything derogatory about you, because you're standing right next to him and you could beat the crap out of him.
I got a hole in my leg. That's a fact. He's going bald. That's a fact. I'm not saying like that. I'm just saying the guy's got no goddamn hair.
Yeah, I got you. But that would be like, hey, bro, your hair's falling out. And then, like, he just fought John Howard. I don't want him to turn around and smack me. It's not my fault his hair is falling out.
It's not a place to call man bald, yeah.
Right.
But one of the few things in life I get a kick out of is watching a man struggle with his baldness. I don't know why. It's a secret of mine that I've enjoyed for years. It's bad. When you bring it up, you watch him twist in the wind and avoid the conversation. I like to make eye contact with him at that point. It's good.
Let's see how much you enjoy people going bald. Have you said anything to Dana?
No.
No.
Well, he pulls it off. He didn't let it. Yeah, he did let himself go back. He shaved his head and he looks good, man. But some people hold on with two hairs left, and they look like they're wearing a fucking hairnet. And that's when I really love it. Or you have a nice coiffed, combed over. It's a good. Like the other guy that was doing the interpreting on in the Brazil card for Jose Aldo. That guy had a fucking hairpiece. A mile away. And I told you, remember?
Yeah.
That was a rug that looked horrible. He should be ashamed of himself.
All right. Well. All right. I'm gonna try to. Let's see if I can get a fight question in here. All right. So December 13th, Phoenix, Arizona. You're making your re-return to the UFC. You're taking on Ben Saunders. Ben is a very tricky submission guy. He just pulled off the first ever omoplata in UFC history, which is crazy to think he's the first person to do it. He has pretty good Muay Thai striking. He's a long and lanky guy at 6'3" for this weight class. Is he a guy that when you kind of look at his skills, is this a fight where you want to try to get on the inside as quickly as you can, or do you want to try to take it to the ground and just try to pound him out and maybe kind of wade into that submission game, or are you comfortable wherever this fight goes?
Well, I mean, I consider myself the most well-rounded fighter. I mean, I'm not okay at everything. I'm good at everything. So, and I was telling AJ, I never really have a game plan with a fight. One thing I don't want to do is stay on the outside and let him use his reach. But when the fight stays on his feet, I'm good with that. But one thing is I'm a way better wrestler than he is, so I can dictate where the fight goes. If I want it standing up, I'll keep it there. If I want it on the ground, I'll take it there. So he doesn't have any say if we fight on the ground or standing up. So he's good at both, and so he's dangerous. You got to respect every aspect of that. But I'm just gonna let the fight go where it is. If I feel it on the feet, I'll keep it there. If I want it on the ground, I'll go there.
Now, were you more excited? Right. Were you more excited to get this fight against Saunders than you were against Thiago, or does it matter to you?
I think they're probably right around the same. People respect. They're about the same level and respect in terms of wins. But it's cool. Him coming off that submission gives him a little more hype. So it's I like it the fact that it's in my hometown. It's the first ever fight in Phoenix for the UFC, and it's my first fight back in years. So I think it's this one's a little more exciting for me.
Hey Joe, I got another question from my friend Clint that is watching via YouTube or Google Plus. I don't know how he's watching it, but he's watching. Is there anything in particular that you do to kind of psych yourself up or get in the zone before a fight? He said he put examples like maybe watch highlight videos of yourself or music, or is there anything that really gets you amped up for the fight?
For me, I mean everybody's different, but I have to stay as calm as possible because I used to have I used to have anxiety issues with fights. I mean, performance anxiety used to be really used to struggle with it. So the more I'm calm and the more I make this fight simplistic and don't overanalyze things and don't put myself in a lot of pressures, and I just sit back there and I just talk to my wife, talk to friends, and then even my entrance music is a sort of a calm thing for me. Then I go in there and I just take it like it's any other fight, and then I perform well because I don't care about winning or losing. I just want to fight the best of my abilities, and usually it turns out good for me.
Cool.
All right, I got two more quick questions for you, Joe, and we'll get you out of here. The main event of UFC on Fox 13, the event you'll be fighting on, a big matchup at heavyweight as former champ Junior Dos Santos takes on Stipe Miocic. I was wondering if you had a pick or a favorite for that main event.
Uh-oh.
Oh, no.
Uh-oh. Are they gone? I have a feeling he was going to go with Stipe. No?
I'm not sure. Well,
I think
watching live, we lost Joe Riggs and AJ Hiller. I'm not sure. I think their computer may have froze there.
maybe
We
AJ.
can get it back on.
Maybe
But
AJ didn't. He didn't charge the laptop.
I'm not sure if I thought he was using his desktop, but
Yeah.
anyways, well, we'll send a couple of plugs here. Of course, AJ Hiller runs MMASignaturesUSA.com. You can visit his website, largest selection of signed MMA memorabilia, and you can also follow him on Twitter at AJ MMA Signatures to check out there. And of course, like his MMA Signatures on Facebook, he's a lot of times he'll post deals on there before he even hits the website. So sometimes if you're looking when he gets a lot of new stuff and new inventory in, his Facebook page, he does a great job putting stuff on there as well. So if that is it for Joe Riggs, then wish him the best of luck coming up here in December, and it was great to have him on. Definitely a funny guy. It's awesome interview, awesome having him on. Dave, any final thoughts here?
No, we'll be back Wednesday. Same time-ish. That's a word, right? Same time-ish. That's good. Yeah. Whatever. We're close. Yeah. So we'll be back around the same time, and we'll go over this past weekend. And yeah, hope I'll be. We'll preview a little Invicta, maybe. Talk a little Bellator. I'm gonna go out there and see Barb, and yeah, check out. Don't forget YouTube.com/Beyond the Cage podcast. Subscribe to the channel. Like Jim was saying about AJ posting deals to the Facebook page. If you go to our YouTube channel, you can usually see some of the interviews before they happen because Jim's so good. He interviews them, bam, right onto YouTube, just like that. So, yeah, interview with Barb was great, and yeah, she even gave Kat Zingano a couple shout-outs, which makes this guy happy. So,
for sure,
there,
yeah.
There you go.
If you haven't seen already, it was posted on the Facebook page. But yeah, I got to interview Invicta FC flyweight champion Barb Honchak once again up ahead of her title defense this Saturday on the UFC Fight Pass, November 1st. She's going to be the main event for the first ever Invicta fight, not in Kansas City. So kind of a big deal. She'll be headlining that card. So yeah, check out the interview if you haven't. It will also replay on this week's audio version of the show coming up on Wednesday. If you missed it on the audio version last week, Luke Zackridge, the interview we had with him for his fight on November 8th for the UFC in Australia, that is on our YouTube channel as well. So his computer lost a connection. AJ just texted me, so I'm gonna text him back. No worries, we got the we got the interview in. So again, thanks for AJ and Joe for coming on the show. We appreciate that. You can follow Joe on Twitter at DieselRiggsMMA, and you can follow Dave on Twitter at VigilanteJuice. And we'll be back Wednesday, noon Eastern, where we're going to cover Bellator 130, preview Invicta 9. We're also going to break down the awesome main event between Jose Aldo and Chad Mendes 2, and the rest of the main card fights for UFC 179. So for Dave Sadler, I am Jim Graham. Follow me on Twitter at Jim Graham. And thanks for listening to Beyond the Cage podcast presented by Fight Chicks.